It would be typical Spurs to come a third in a two-horse title race. Typical Spurs to lose out on a player in a one-horse race for certain Eberechi Eze, gents. But the win against Manchester City at the weekend would have lifted a bit of pressure off Daniel Levy, because if they lost that match at the Etihad, after what happened with the hijacking of Eze, the mood at Spurs would have very, very quickly turned. Like, look, a lot of things can be discussed in this. Eze was an Arsenal fan. We know there's an emotional connection there. But to some level, Gary, do Spurs only have themselves to blame for this?
I thought Spurs had an opportunity to sign Eze, but I felt they needed to do the deal really quickly. And it seemed that they dawdled on it a little bit. And then what really shifted it was that Kai Havertz gets injured for Arsenal. Arsenal say, actually, we definitely do need another player. And Eze's our man. But
the moment that injury happened to Maddison, Kulusevski's already been out, and there's a further setback to his injury. Why didn't Spurs act it with urgency, the same way Arsenal did, all right? Okay, so Eberechi Eze sort of said goodbye in that first weekend game against Chelsea. And the moment there was news that Kai Havertz was going to be out for a significant amount of time, Arsenal jumped in and paying for pretty much a similar fee to the release clause that was attached to Eberechi Eze.
Well, that's exactly my point. I said that Spurs needed to act with urgency, but there is history there, isn't there, with Spurs Football Club and with Daniel Levy in particular, in that he likes, or historically he's liked to do deals later. Now, is that because if he signs a player a month earlier, he's got to pay him an extra month's money? I don't know. But yeah, I would like to see Spurs be a little bit more decisive and be a little bit more bold. You know, Daniel Levy has said that, you know, the most important thing for Spurs Football Club is that, you know, they can't expose themselves to any sort of dangerous debt. And, you know, I think overall he's done a great job, but I can't defend him as far as when it comes to signing players. I'd like to see Spurs make decisions a bit earlier.
Is their method of negotiation a problem here, especially when you want to close the gap to the likes of Man City, to the likes of Liverpool, to the likes of Arsenal? When you dream of winning the Premier League in the near future, to quote-unquote them, can you do business this way? Because, again, we look back at what happened with Morgan Gibbs-White, and historically, and it's not just the season, historically, this is what Spurs have done. Willian, in the past as well, was also another case. How can they aim to be a Premier League title-winning side by executing their negotiations in this manner?
Well, they won't. It's as simple as it is. I mean, if you identify a player, which they've identified Eze as a player that they want to bring to the football club, you know that his release clause is what it is. Get the deal done. Don't, you know, at the end of the day, Crystal Palace, we're always going to sell Eze. So at the end of the day, you know what the fee is. Maybe they thought the release fee has expired, so they might be able to get him cheaper. But if it's a player you've identified, it's still at 68 million. It's a really good buy. You just get the business done. I think it's you know, as Gary says, I think Daniel Levy has done really, really well for the football club.
But is he holding them back now?
Well, listen, depending on what you see is the foremost of what they want to achieve. If they want to win the Premier League, you've got to look at the likes of Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, all net spend over 200 million in this transfer window. OK, Tottenham have a net spend of over 100 million, but to compete with those teams to win the Premier League, you're going to have to spend a lot of money. That's as simple as it is. So if you're not prepared to do that, then don't keep changing the manager and saying, oh, well, the manager's job. You've had some of the best coaches to have won you the title, but they ain't going to win you the title if you don't give them the tools to do the job.